Well, let's do one more. Let's keep this backlash train a rolling. Oh, hell yeah! Yeah, I know I did Backlash 2002, Backlash 2000. Why don't we do one more? Talk about where it all began. 1999, Backlash debuted as In Your House. Yes, it was one of those series. And shortly after, they took the In Your House out, obviously, and it became Backlash. And this show, obviously, coming out of WrestleMania 15, it was pretty cool because you have a lot of these storylines and basically called Backlash for a reason, unfinished business. And a lot of these were just that, unfinished business. So, I mean, this was pretty fucking cool. So, yeah, let's talk about it. We have Val Venus and Nicole Batts, who defeated D'Lo Brown and Ivory. I did not see this match. It was on Heat. And yeah, Nicole and Val, one of the most interesting and odd take teams. And it didn't last very long. I think it was only a few months. And then I'm not sure what happened, but obviously Nicole did leave. So, and you know, you have D'Lo Brown and Ivory, a very good take team in this match, obviously, and that was an odd pairing. I'm not quite sure how that came about, but again, this is when Ivory was, you know, pre-right to censor. So, and oh, you know, she was a really good wrestler, you know, just kind of like one of the best in the women's division. So, I mean, yeah, go all the way back to Glow when she was Tina. So, we have this match, a take team match. You have Prince Albert and Draws, who defeated Too Much. And this was obviously a time where I talked about this in my last review. And it was like Matt Bloom being one of the best take team wrestlers and coming in with Draws, and it was like cool to see these two guys, and it was like the time where new metal was popular, and that's kind of what I thought when I saw these guys, you know, tattoos, piercings, things like that. And then, you know, they have Draws, who came into the WWE, well, WWF at the time, as a puke. He's gonna puke! He's gonna puke! I had to do that. But anyways, so you have Too Much, obviously Scott Taylor and Brian Christopher. And again, you know, Brian Christopher being Jerry Lawler's son. You have Scott Taylor, who wrestled, I believe, since the early 90s. He's a jobber at the time. But Too Much would later become Too Cool. And then, of course, you know, this was a good match. You have Prince Albert and Draws picking up the win. And, I mean, a guy like Draws, here's a guy that had a lot of potential. And, you know, being a member of LOD, the third member, I guess. And then the tragic accident with D'Lo Brown, and you know, that's exactly what it was. And people tell me that wrestling is fake can go fuck themselves, because again, things happen, and Darren got paralyzed, and I mean, they're still friends to this day, and that's very cool. It does happen, you know, and obviously D'Lo felt a lot of remorse but they have remained friends to this day, and it was pretty cool. Matt Plum, as I've said, joined Test a year later. Later on, he would be with Scotty 2 Hottie, and then Florida's Clay, the fucking Dactyls. But this was a good match. So, you have this match, Kane defeating the Big Boss Man, and very cool. These two guys really beat the shit out of each other. But then you have this match, was Viscera, who defeated Test. So, and yes, of course, at the time, you have the Corporation, which Test and Big Boss Man were a part of, and then of course you have the Ministry, you got Kane and Viscera, so this was pretty cool as well. And all these matches were on Heat, so... Begin the night with the Ministry of Darkness, who defeated the Brood. We've got Ministry of the Acolytes and Midian, and of course the Brood, Gangrel, Edge, and Christian. These guys really took each other to the limit. Clothesline from Hell, Executioner, you know, Impaler. This was awesome, but the Ministry picked up the win. And yeah, this feud, man, this was very cool, but eventually you would have the Brood be a part of the Ministry, which made sense in a way. And then, you know, it was a little upsetting to me that this year's WrestleMania, I expected to see Gangrel and Christian, and unfortunately those guys didn't make it. I'm not quite sure what happened, but it is what it is. You have the Hardcore title, you have Al Snow defeated Hardcore Holly. These guys were all over the place. They even went outside, and yeah, they went back in after a while. I think this was the one where they wrestled in a lake, and then they came back in. You have chairs, tables, you had everything, but yeah, Al Snow picked up the win, getting the Hardcore title. So that was pretty cool, and I believe this won't be the last match. I think this feud continued for a while, if I remember. You have the Intercontinental title, you have the Godfather defeated Gold Dust, and these two really went back and forth, and there was a point where Gold Dust had powder, and he was gonna throw it at Godfather, misfired, obviously, and beat the shit out of Blue Meanie. And I've mentioned that before, this was a weird angle, you know, Blue Meanie, Goldust, and Ryan Shamrock, and I just don't understand where that came from, and yeah, it was just dumb. But yeah, Godfather ended up retaining the title. So I have a tag team match determining the #1 contendership for the tag team titles. You've got the New Age Outlaws, who defeated Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett. And, you know, this was very cool. And again, you look at the unfortunate year that this would be, because that would happen in May at Over the Edge. Owen Hart falling to his death. And it was like upsetting because you didn't know that was gonna happen. Obviously, he didn't know. Nobody knew. Again, another accident that would have been avoidable. It should have been avoidable, but it wasn't. And it happened, and it's sad, you know. But they were a good tag team, and I believe they were the tag team champions. And the New Age Outlaws did win this match, but yeah, I mean, Jeff and Owen would capture the titles, and then unfortunately, you know, Owen went on to the Blue Blazer gimmick, and you know, later on that year, you know, the tragedy happened, and just, you know, something that will never be forgotten. Tonight I have a broiler room match, a broiler room brawl, if you will. Mankind defeating the Big Show. And you remember the match with Mankind and the Undertaker. This match was pretty cool because it seemed like the broiler room was a lot bigger. You know, but there was a lot of cool shit in this match. It ended, you know, having the pipes falling on to the Big Show, burying him, Mankind leaving, and then I think it was him that got assaulted by the big boss man. So, yeah. Yeah, that was weird. But a good match. And this was obviously a rematch that they had prior to WrestleMania. And so, yeah. Mankind won twice. I'm sure the Big Show did beat him at some point, but then you had Triple H, who defeated X-Pac. Now we know the betrayal what happened at WrestleMania. And then Triple H turning on X-Pac. So, becoming a heel, joining the corporation. This was the starting of the game. You know, kind of. I think this would happen later on, but he had the gray and black tights, and, you know, just kind of not there yet, but cutting his hair a little bit, and then just having that new gimmick in China as well. But this was pretty cool, and you didn't really know what was going to happen. Kane interfered, and, you know, that didn't work. Triple H ended up winning. So, you have this match. You have The Undertaker, who defeated Ken Shamrock. I had forgotten about this for a few. And, I mean, you have the Corporation and the Ministry of Darkness, so this was good too. And then, you know, he thought that Ken was going to get one over, but Undertaker ended up with the Tombstone getting the win. And yeah, it was obvious, you know, but yeah, there it is. One of the best wrestlers, and getting this win. I thought that was pretty cool. You have a match, no holds barred, for the WWF title. You have Shane McMahon as the guest referee. You have Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock. And the lead up to this match was like, you know, fuck. Because you have Stone Cold beating The Rock at WrestleMania. You have him on Raw. He's like, I was out and I woke up this morning and I'm looking at this title and I go, ah! And then he pulls up the Smoking Skull title. You have this back and forth. You have The Rock, who's on a bridge, throwing the title to the river, kidnapping the belt. Well, so we thought. Stone Cold comes out, they brawl, and then Austin gets thrown over the bridge and into the water. Then, of course, the burial the next week, and then you have the Smoking Skull title on The Rock all along. And then you have Austin, who has his truck, who goes over The Rock's Lincoln Continental. In the go-home show, they were wrestling, and you have Shane hit Stone Cold with a shovel and holding up the belt. So it's a good lead up to this match as well, but this was a good match, and they wrestled all over the arena. I mean, no holds barred, and everything was used, and just slamming into the barricade, you know, almost wrecking the set. But, you know, Shane being slimy as always, and, you know, wouldn't count to 3 when Austin pinned The Rock and flipping him off like the Survivor Series, and just kind of like trying to do the fast count when The Rock covered him. But yeah, this was fun. And Austin obviously ended up going over. And it was like, that's how you do it. And I mean, he did hold up both belts, but I mean, it was like, I'm glad he didn't keep them both. I mean, still holding on to the Smoking Skull title. You know? I mean, there's a Brahma Bull title that they had, but that was never used in a storyline. But yeah, this was a very good match. I mean, this was a very good show, and I think that, again, going to memory lane and seeing these guys who were the best. And it was one of my favorite years, and I'm always going to say that, you know? And it's just kind of one of those things where you had a lot of champions, but it was kind of like fun to see how creative they can be with their matches, and the go home shows you actually look forward to seeing Austin beat the Rock's ass. But anyways, yeah, so looking forward to this year's Backlash, Puerto Rico, and yeah, there it is. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
So you know that them cutting WCW was a long time coming. But I think that there's this myth out there that Jamie Keller and that's why he took pleasure in cutting WCW. I don't think that's the case at all. Because if you look at some of his earlier interviews,